Welcome to the Self-Sufficiency channel with Johnny Lee. Remember to like, share, and subscribe if you find this content valuable to your life. I need you to be honest. How many times have you prayed and nothing happened? Not God works in mysterious ways. Not He said wait. Not it just wasn't His will. I'm talking about real prayers. You needed help. You needed relief. You needed something to change, and nothing happened. So today, we're going to ask a simple question. Does prayer actually work, or are you talking to yourself? You see, most people are taught from childhood, pray when you're hurting. Pray when you're lost. Pray when you need guidance. And we're told God answers prayers. But when you step outside belief and actually observe reality, something doesn't add up. If prayer actually worked, it would be consistent. There are millions of people praying every single day. Different religions, different beliefs, same level of faith, and yet completely different outcomes. One person prays and recovers. Another person prays and dies. One family prays for a miracle. Another family prays and loses everything. So ask yourself, if prayer works, why isn't it reliable? Because anything that works in reality produces consistent results. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. When prayer doesn't work, there's always an explanation ready. People say, God said no. It wasn't His will. You didn't have enough faith. Or God is testing you. So no matter what happens, God is always right. If it works, God did it. If it doesn't, God had a reason. But ladies and gentlemen, that's not evidence. That's a system designed so that it can never be wrong. Now let's take this even deeper, because this is where it becomes very, very real. People don't just pray for small things. They pray for survival. They pray for healing. They pray over dying children. They pray in hospitals. They pray in war zones. They pray when everything is falling apart. And what happens? Silence. No answer. No intervention. No voice. So at some point, you have to ask yourself, at what point do we stop calling silence an answer? Now this is where most people stop thinking, because questioning this feels uncomfortable. But let's be honest. When you pray, who is actually responding? Here's the reality. You speak, you think, you reflect, and then something answers. Not out loud, not externally, but internally. Your own thoughts, your own voice, your own reasoning. So what if prayer isn't communication with God at all? What if prayer is just a conversation with yourself in a world where no one is actually listening? Now here's the part that matters. Here's the self-sufficiency answer. If prayer isn't producing results, then you have to stop outsourcing your life to something that isn't responding. You don't pray for change, you create it. You don't wait for answers, you think. You don't ask for strength, you build it. Because the truth is, everything you were hoping God would do depends on what you do next. No one is coming to save you. Not from the sky, not from a prayer, not from a miracle. And once you accept that, you stop waiting and you start moving. Remember, as I always say, life is suffering. Death is mercy. No one is coming to save you, so save yourself. Until next time.